Hey guys, Jordan Covey here again from the StorageReview Edge Lab. Today we've got something really special for you. These are the brand new, releasing today, AMD Ryzen 8000 series desktop processors. These are the G-class processors that have the integrated graphics in them. We've got the Radeon 700M series, all on one package. These things are pretty small from what we're used to working with the server chips. Just for comparison, we've got a Sapphire Rapids CPU over here that we're working on. A lot of power gets packed into these little things. It's not anything to, go blow the doors off, and you're not going to have the highest resolution and the best quality with the top frame rates with one of these. But if you're balling on a budget and you're trying to build something and you want just a little bit of graphics because you're not going to be doing too much, maybe some light esports titles or anything like that, these chips are really compelling. They come in at a really interesting price point as well, which we'll go over later. This is the Ryzen 7 8700G, so this is the top tier, and then we've got the 5 series right here as well. I didn't get a chance to get to the 3 series. I think that's actually going to be an OEM only thing. AMD was kind enough to send these over for review. This is not a sponsored review in any way. They just provided the hardware, no money changed hands. So taking a look at some key specifications of our new Ryzen 8000G series CPUs. These are based on the Zen 4 architecture and use the AM5 socket. The 8700G has an 8-core with 16 thread, and the Ryzen 5 8600 is a 6-core with 12 thread. Both have a base clock of 4.2 gigahertz, with the Ryzen 7 8700G turboing up to 5.1, with the Ryzen 5 8600G turboing up to only 5 gigahertz. Couple other key things to look at. We've got a 65 watt default TDP. AMD has a configurable TDP between 45 and 65. Both have dual channel DDR5, support up to 256 gigabytes of memory. With 20 total PCI lanes and 16 of those being usable, you've got enough for an entry-level system to be able to have some expandability. The Ryzen 7 8700G has a Radeon 780M GPU, with the Ryzen 5 8600G having the 760M GPU, with the graphic core count being 12 and 8 respectively. Both of these chips have really good overclockability potential, which is something we'll get into shortly. But on the surface, both of these are really good platforms to get into kind of building your own, maybe your first gaming PC or a first PC for a kid. Going into our packaging here. So these are labeled as sample products, not for resale, but I'm pretty sure this is how you would get it if you got a full-fat retail CPU. So it looks like they do have the AMD Wraith cooler in here. These things, we don't have a lot of experience with these in our lab. I hear okay things about them, they're fine. We're gonna use this for the smoke test, but I've got something way cooler in mind for the cooling solution, pun intended. A little further in, we've got our Ryzen 7 8700G still in its shiny packaging. We can't forget the Ryzen 5 unboxing. All right, a little bit smaller of a cooler on this guy. Real low power chips these. Here it is, there's a Ryzen 5 8600G. So that's not all that AMD sent along. They also did send this RG Strix gaming motherboard. It's the Wi-Fi variant of this B560 chipset. This comes from ASUS, and some GSKILL Trident Z DDR5 that has RGB. Kind of wish they put RGB in server memory. Jumping over into the motherboard here, I've already cut the tape. Nice white motherboard. It'll match our case that we got. And we got our little accessory pack in here. Looks like some pretty basic. This is the Wi-Fi antenna. Magnetic? Yes, magnetic Wi-Fi antenna. Highlights, you got 4 DRAM slots. We are only going to use 2 of those. So this is a PCI Express 16 Gen 5 slot. It is fully wired for X16. These ones are fully wired for 1X, of course, because you couldn't do anything else. With this one on the bottom, you can fit an X16 card in, but it's electrically connected only at X4. That's fine. I know that consumer platforms kind of struggle to get that. And I know for a fact there's an M.2 under here, and I believe 1 or 2 more under here as well. So you can get 3 M.2s on board. This is kind of neat. I just noticed this by picking it up. Get a quick release button here for your GPU. So if you're kind of like us and you swap through a lot of different add-in cards, you get a little... I wonder how many presses this is rated for. That might be something we can figure out. Jump over to our main I/O real quick, because I'm sure that's what everybody really cares about. DisplayPort and HDMI. This is, again, going for the G series chip. We're going to be using the onboard GPU. We're not doing any discrete GPUs for this build. It's going to be all on board. We got a BIOS flashback in case you mess up your settings, the Wi-Fi connectors. Looks like a dedicated port to load new BIOS, 2 super speed 10 gig USB Type A here, another Type A 10 gig, a 10 gig Super Speed C, and a 20 gig Super Speed C. That's nice to see. 3 USB 2 is good for your peripherals and like your headset and stuff like that. And the real high speed stuff goes out here. 2.5 gig on board. Like to see it. It's better than 1 gig. Not as good as 5 or 10, but hey, 2.5 gig on board. Overall, pretty decent entry-level motherboard. Pretty bare bones, not a ton of stuff on here, but there's enough to get the job done. It's a fairly affordable motherboard, just like the CPU, it's fairly affordable. Makes for an interesting use case for some stuff that we're gonna do later. And of course, underneath, we can't forget all the goodies that you get. More oh no, this is it's like a lanyard, like a bag tag or something. ROG. So people know I'm a gamer now. I'm just a data center dork. Oh, stickers galore. Yeah, these are shiny, bud. Come on, guys, basic troubleshooting stuff. Give me the LCD. Give me the LCD. I know it's a budget board, but come on, how expensive is a 2-digit 8-segment display? Really, please, come on. I'm gonna run upstairs and put this on my open bench and smoke test everything and use the stock included cooler with the DRAM choice that AMD wanted. Play with some overclocking, talk about all of our results later. But this should pick up next with us building this actually in the case, which will be post-testing and everything for full transparency. Taking a look at the performance of the 8700G and the 8600G, we had a Ryzen 7, the first generation Ryzen, that was kind of a big paradigm shift in the market when it came out. We had one of those sitting around, so I wanted to compare to that to see how far it's come since the first generation launched back in 2017. The 3D Mark CPU profile, we can see the 8700G scored about 8,200 points, with the 8600G scoring around 6,300 points on the max thread test. Moving on to the real party trick of this though, the GPU test. Night Raid, we were able to get 30,000 points out of the 8700G and 26,000 points out of the 8600G. Now this is basically the stock configuration of these CPUs. We ran them with just the Expo 1 setting, and then ASUS had the AI overclock, the automatic kind of boost thing that the motherboard will try and keep it a little higher. Moving on to Geekbench, we can see our single core and multi-core scores. Again, respectable numbers put up by these. Not breaking any records, but these are performing really well. We didn't have the most up-to-date drivers until after all of the performance was done and we were shooting the final video here. So the Vulkan was the only one that would run on the 8600G, but I've actually confirmed that since then you'll see some gaps in our OpenCL data. The 8600 driver issues have all been fixed. Y-Cruncher, our all-time favorite benchmark, because it stresses the entire system, including the memory and the CPU. 1 billion, we put up a respectable 26 seconds with the 8700 and a 32.3 second on the 8600. Again, wildly faster. This benchmark really illustrates the benefit of moving from DDR4 to DDR5. So let's talk about AI for a second. AMD touts a lot of AI accelerator, NPU, neural processing unit that's built into these new CPUs. We don't have a great way to test that right now. There's some open source stuff out there. There's some demo programs out there. Microsoft Copilot's coming soon, which is going to run local AI for you. And so we took a look at the UL Labs Procyon. We took the average inference times. The lower score is better here. You can see the performance lift of both the cores and then moving to the GPU, where our CPU and our GPU perform right about the same. Finally, let's talk about overclocking. This chip is mostly unlocked. I believe there is a hard cap on the max boost, but we can actually go in and we can do some other tweaks to it as well. Particularly, we looked at the F clock, which is the fabric clock or the infinity fabric speed. At the Expo 1 setting, it runs at 2000 megahertz. We were able to get it up to 2427 megahertz. I was able to put a GPU clock actually up from 2900 megahertz up to 3200 megahertz, and this is where we saw our really impressive performance. Also, we were able to get the memory up from the Expo 1 setting of 6400 to 6600. Remember, that's DDR2, so in our hardware info, it's going to show as half because it's a double data rate. So with these settings, we did a little bit of tweaking on the voltages. I'm not going to go too big into the details there because that's going to be dependent on your cooling solution, your temperatures that you're running, and other things. But we can see on the 8700G, we were able to get a substantial lift, and across the board, we were seeing a 10% increase on Night Raid, Fire Strike, Y Cruncher was a little faster. Our Cinebench score went up by almost 600 points. And our Geekbench scores also showed a respectable lift. The most impressive thing though is that graphics clock. So if you've got one of these chips and you're gonna be overclocking it and you're gonna be working with it, I highly recommend you follow kind of along what we did. The GPU performance is gonna be very closely tied to the performance of the DRAM and the speeds and feeds that you run at on there. So the faster that you can get your Infinity Fabric up for the IO, the faster that you can get your DRAM speed up, the more GPU performance and the more game performance you're gonna get. We're able to take it up to 120 or 125 watts in the package power with these basic overclocks, which is double our rated 65 watt TDP, and we were able to get about a 10% performance increase in the synthetic benchmarks. And again, this did translate over into gaming as well. It was very stable, much pushing beyond that. We were seeing some instabilities. So overall, stock air coolers with slight AI overclock and the Expo profile. The Ryzen 7 8700G and the Ryzen 5 8600G performed really well for the class and the category and the price point. Let's take a look at what these things can do in some server workloads, maybe. Big shout out to Ashley and the team over at 45 Drives for helping out with the project. Told you we're gonna do something really different with this board. I think this is gonna make one heck of a media server with the built-in GPU on the CPU, low power. But we don't do anything small here, so we went with the big, strong, fast 45 Home Lab. A lot of varying opinions about this guy floating around there on the interwebs. Some folks love it, some folks hate it. A lot of arguments around the price point, that's for sure. I'm of the opinion that it's a good value for the money. I don't know. I like these things a lot. My biggest complaint is these PCI slot covers. Let's build the AMD system in this guy. Let's see what happens. This Noctua cooler is going to be a little bit overkill, but it's going to be pretty darn quiet and maybe give us a little overhead room for some overclocking work we can do that might not necessarily do the best in the stock aluminum kind of thin heat sink that they include in the package. All right, got our thermal paste guard and cleaning set. Oh, okay. This is the outline of the top of the IHS, so they give you that's cool. And of course, thermal paste and cleaning wipes. Love these wipes, they work really well. And we've got the Noctua NH-U12A. All right, we got the build finish. I skipped recording that because it was kind of boring. It really wasn't much to do. We already put the cooler on, we had the DRAM in, we did all this testing upstairs, so it was just transplanting from the dining room table, I mean my open air test bench upstairs into the chassis. Very easy, straightforward. 3D printed a bunch of these guys, they all look great. 45 Home Lab provides the 3D printer files for you to be able to 3D print the SSD adapters that'll take your 2.5 inch, either 7mm or 15mm SSD into the 3.5 inch form factor slots. Don't have everything populated fully yet. I've got 4 of the 14 terabyte drives in here. I've got a couple of SAS SSDs, 1 terabytes, and then a 1 terabyte SATA SSD as well. So these are only really in here just for testing Unraid and figuring out how everything works. Under these two heat sinks right here, we've got a couple of the Kioxia XG8, M.2 2 terabyte NVMe SSDs. They're Gen 4, it's from their client. You can buy them sort of, but they were kind enough to provide those for the review. And then I gotta do some sketchy shit with a PCI riser and some zip ties, and it's gonna make everybody really sad, but I wanted to get some money shots here for everyone. Which you can't see, can't hurt you. All right, we've got our Unraid OS all loaded up here. I did have to remove those Kioxia drives, not for any fault of their own. I actually wanted to test those on a bifurcation card, but more on that later in the next video in this series on the HL15 and the Edge Lab here. Taking a look, we've got our Intel SSD here. This is the 15.4 terabyte variant, but that's set up as our parity disk in this setup. So for those of you unfamiliar with Unraid, it's not a RAID, it's more of a NAS platform that uses parity to kind of help check to make sure that things there's a little bit of data security, right? So it's not a backup or anything like that. It's just an interesting way of managing the data that's a little bit out of the normal from like what you would think about of a RAID where you have multiple parity disks or striping across different disks. Here you can actually put data on individual single disks. I wanted some smaller drives to initialize my array quicker for my testing. You have to go through and actually write and zero out the entire disk when you go into Unraid. So you can see our 14 terabyte WD Reds in here are they're going through their initial zeroing out process. I put a Sabrent Rocket Nano in here, which is 512 gig in one of the M.2 slots to use as a cache drive. So there's interesting things that you can do inside the OS that will let you take the data into that really high speed storage first, and then it'll push it out and it'll kind of push it onto the different disks in the pool. So when all is said and done, we should have a pretty sizable pool of storage in here. Right now it's got 7.77 terabytes of space available. When you move into like the Docker side and you start getting into different containers, there's the community store in the apps page here. I guess a lot of people don't understand how this app store works. This is like a community place where people can upload different pieces of Docker containers or different things to deploy onto your Unraid NAS. But you've got a lot of different options in here as far as like running Minecraft servers, different sort of like network stuff to help your security out, productivity things, home automation, all that stuff. Definitely worth a deep dive. And of course we've got our VMs. I got a Windows 11 VM actually set up here. I have this one configured actually to use the GPU right now. You can pass through. This is the cool thing. We don't have a dedicated GPU in this box. This has got the pass through though. It's detecting that AMD Phoenix, that 780M of our Ryzen 8700G chip in here. So that's pass through and that's accelerated. So in the next series of this, when we're looking a little deeper at Unraid and the platform, we're going to take a look at actual gaming performance in a VM on Unraid on the integrated GPU. Really excited to take a look at that. Moving back over, Unraid does allow you actually to pick a 45 drives Storinator. It's marked as the 4U Storinator. You could do 4U fans, but Storinator is fine. It's close to the HL15. It does show our processor, it recognizes the GPU, it recognizes all of our DRAM and our 2.5 gig networking that's on board with the motherboard, and it's showing that it's pulled up. I'm actually kind of excited about Unraid. We haven't looked at this kind of stuff since we normally work in the enterprise space. So I kind of put the hardware in here that I could afford to take off and set into a corner and see and do a little series about living with Unraid. So stay tuned. Make sure you're subscribed for that because that's going to be a lot of fun. All right, of course, no case is complete without the badges. We had to get those on there. I'm a huge sucker for these. I love case badges. We got all 4 of them on there of everything that's in here. The finish and fit on this is just awesome. Like I said, we've got Unraid on here. We've got everything installed. We got a VM going. But overall, really loving the 8700G. Really liking the 8600G. I'm gonna go pick up another board to be able to use that 8600G as a separate machine. Thinking a home media center, something really quiet. I've got an interesting case around somewhere for that guy that I need to dust off and find it. AMD put out a really good product with this. It's in a really interesting price range. It's a little expensive for what it is, but it's very affordable. The motherboards are plentiful. The DRAM right now is fairly inexpensive, and we should be able to have a quite interesting setup as far as maybe a home theater PC goes, which is what I'm going to explore with the 8600G next. So stay tuned, make sure you're subscribed, hit that like button, check out the website, the link's in the description below. We have the full review, the full write-up with all of the benchmarks, everything in there. And we'll make sure that we follow up on this on both the HL15 platform as well as what we're going to do with that 8600G.